Hello everyone. Tonight let us draw back the veil on a profoundly different way of life in the Middle Ages, one characterized by profound devotion, rigorous discipline, and ceaseless labor, the medieval monastery. Forget the clamor of the city or the endless back-breaking toil of the fields. Tonight we'll step into a world apart, a cloistered realm where men and women sought spiritual perfection, preserved knowledge, and served their communities, all without the endless distractions or convenient luxuries of our modern age. Imagine a life lived by the unyielding rhythm of the bell, where every moment had a sacred, predefined purpose, and silence was not merely an absence of noise, but a cherished, cultivated companion, a call to devotion. Why embrace the cloister? In a world often defined by relentless hardship, unpredictable violence, and the cruel brevity of life, the monastery offered a profoundly different path, a path that promised salvation, spiritual purity, and a structured, deeply purposeful existence amidst the chaos. Why would someone choose such a life, deliberately forsaking worldly possessions, the comforts of family, and the very notion of personal freedom? It was a decision of immense weight, a true turning point, a genuine spiritual calling. For countless individuals, both noble and common, it was a genuine, deeply felt religious vocation, an undeniable pull from within, a fervent desire to dedicate their lives entirely to God, to incessant prayer and a silent contemplation, seeking a closer, more profound union with the divine. It was a quest for spiritual transcendence, a yearning for a life wholly devoted to the sacred, penance and redemption. For others, the monastery offered a desperate refuge and a path to profound penance for past sins, both real and perceived. They truly believed that the rigorous monastic life, with its self-denial and unwavering devotion, could lead to divine forgiveness and ultimately eternal salvation. It was a physical manifestation of repentance, a lifelong act of atonement, safety and stability in a tumultuous world. In times of relentless war, devastating famine, widespread social upheaval, or even just the constant threat of banditry, the monastery offered a rare, almost miraculous haven of peace, security, and consistent sustenance. For younger sons or unmarried daughters of noble families, it provided a dignified place and avoided dividing inheritances too thinly. For those seeking a genuine escape from harsh, often brutal secular life, it was a sanctuary, a place where one could find refuge and purpose, education and unparalleled opportunity. For bright, inquisitive individuals from humbler backgrounds, the monastery often provided the only accessible path to education, to literacy, and to intellectual pursuits. It offered a rare and precious chance to rise far beyond the circumstances of their birth, to wield the power of the written word, and to engage with profound ideas. Family obligation and strategic alliances. Less romantically, noble families often strategically placed younger children in monasteries or convents. This served multiple purposes: to ensure their salvation, to prevent further fragmentation of family lands to multiple heirs, or to forge powerful, mutually beneficial alliances with influential religious houses, extending their family's influence and prestige into the spiritual realm. Once the momentous decision was made, the postulant would undergo a demanding period of novitiate, a rigorous trial period lasting from a few months to a year or more. This was a time of intense discernment, designed to determine their true suitability and resolve. Only then, if deemed worthy, would they take the solemn, irrevocable vows of poverty, chastity, and absolute obedience for life. This was more than just a commitment. It was a complete and utter transformation of identity, a death to the worldly self and a rebirth into the cloistered life. The unyielding rhythm of the bell. The monastic day life within a monastery or convent was governed by an incredibly strict, almost military, and supremely precise timetable known as the divine office or the liturgical hours. This unyielding schedule, often based on the ancient rule of St. Benedict, dictated every single moment of the day and night, ensuring a perfect, holy balance of communal prayer, diligent labor, and dedicated study. The rhythmic, almost hypnotic, ringing of bells was the relentless timekeeper, audible far beyond the monastery walls. Vigils. Imagine being roused from the deepest part of your sleep in the darkest hours of the night, perhaps around 2 or 3 a.m., for the first, longest, and often coldest prayer service. Monks and nuns would silently descend from their dormitories into the cold, dark church, their footsteps echoing faintly on the stone floors. Their voices, though perhaps weary, would soon blend in solemn, resonant chant, filling the vast space with spiritual sound. This was a time of intense prayer, profound meditation, and scriptural reading, often lasting for an hour or more, before the sun had even hinted at its rising. Lauds. As dawn broke, often just before sunrise, another service would begin, a hopeful greeting to the new day with hymns and psalms, as the first rays of light filtered through the high windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the cold air. Prime, around 6 m.a., marking the first official hour of daylight and the start of the active workday. This service was often followed by the chapter meeting in the chapter house, where daily duties were assigned by the abbot or abbess. Faults were confessed publicly, and decisions for the community were made. Terce, sext, none. Shorter, more concise services held at mid-morning, noon, and mid-afternoon respectively. These acted as crucial spiritual punctuation marks, breaking up the longer periods of manual work or dedicated study, reminding the monastics of their constant devotion. Vespers. At sunset, as the light began to fade, another beautiful service would begin, marking the graceful close of the active day with evening prayers and hymns, a time of quiet reflection. Compline. Just before retiring for the night, a final short service of self-examination, confession, and prayer, a spiritual sealing of the day before the great silence descended upon the monastery until matins. Between these regular, non-negotiable periods of communal prayer, the monks and nuns engaged in various essential activities, always disciplined and always within the strictures of their vows, ensuring their community's self-sufficiency and spiritual purpose. Work and sustenance. Labor in the cloister's fields and workshops. Monasteries were emphatically far from idle sanctuaries of contemplative luxury. They were highly productive, rigorously self-sufficient communities, often growing into veritable economic powerhouses in their region. Manual labor, the honest toil of their hands, was seen as both an absolute necessity for survival and a profound spiritual discipline, preventing idleness and fostering humility. Agriculture, the green thumb of the monk. Monks were often remarkable pioneers in agricultural techniques, making vast contributions to medieval farming. They diligently drained swamps, cleared dense forests, and brought new lands under cultivation, transforming wilderness into fertile fields. They bred livestock with careful attention, managed sprawling orchards and vineyards, and were experts in sustainable practices like crop rotation and animal husbandry. Their disciplined, organized approach often yielded significantly better results and higher productivity than secular farming methods. Imagine silent lines of monks working patiently in the fields, their simple habits stained with earth, their labor an offering to God, their focus unbroken by idle chatter. Crafts and industries. The hum of the workshops. Monasteries ran various industries, crucial to their self-sufficiency and often vital to the local economy of surrounding villages. They had their own bustling bakeries, thriving breweries, making ale and beer, which due to the brewing process was often safer to drink than local water sources, efficient mills, and numerous workshops for carpentry, masonry, leatherwork, and weaving. Some larger, wealthier monasteries even had their own iron forges, hammering out tools and implements. The continuous hum of these workshops, the smell of baking bread, the clang of tools were integral sounds of monastic life. Copying and book production. the guardians of knowledge. As we've discussed before, monastic scriptoria were truly the intellectual heart of the Middle Ages, the rare beacons of learning in an often illiterate world. Monks painstakingly copied books by hand, enormous Bibles, weighty theological treatises, invaluable classical texts, Greek, and Roman works that would otherwise have been lost forever, local histories, and legal documents. This required immense patience, extraordinary skill, and unwavering discipline. Imagine a monk bent over a slanted desk, quill in hand, meticulously forming each elegant letter, often illuminating pages with vibrant colors and shimmering gold leaf, a process that could take years for a single precious book. This monumental labor preserved ancient knowledge, disseminated new ideas, and kept the flame of learning alive, truly making monasteries the intellectual engines of their time. Healing and hospices. Charity in action. Monasteries often ran crucial hospices and infirmaries, acting as the primary healthcare providers of the era. They provided essential medical care and shelter for the sick, the poor, and weary travelers. Monks cultivated extensive herb gardens within their cloistered walls, learning about medicinal plants from ancient texts and practical experience, preparing remedies, and tending to the infirm. Their disciplined, often cleaner environment often provided better care than was available elsewhere, rooted deeply in Christian charity and a commitment to alleviate suffering. The intellectual life, study, preservation, and education beyond manual labor. Intellectual pursuit was a profound cornerstone of monastic life, especially for certain orders dedicated to scholarship. Libraries. Treasure troves of the written word. Monasteries housed the largest and most comprehensive libraries in medieval Europe. Veritable treasure troves of knowledge. Books were incredibly precious and rare, often chained to desks to prevent theft, their value beyond measure. Monks spent countless hours studying these texts, debating complex theology, and engaging in profound philosophical discourse within the quiet solitude of their cloister. Chronicles and histories. Recording time. Many monks acted as dedicated historians, meticulously recording local events, compiling genealogies of noble families, and chronicling broader historical narratives in chronicles. These provide invaluable, often rare, insights into the medieval world, preserving the stories of their times for future generations. Education. Beacons of learning. Monasteries provided education for their own members, ensuring a continuous stream of literate and learned individuals. They also often ran schools for secular children, particularly those destined for the clergy or royal administration, making them crucial centers of learning long before the widespread rise of universities. Life beyond the walls. Monasteries interacting with the world while outwardly cloistered and focused on spiritual matters. Monasteries were far from entirely cut off from the secular world. In fact, they were deeply interwoven with it. Landlords and feudal lords. Many monasteries owned vast tracts of land, granted by kings or nobles, making them powerful feudal lords in their own right, with numerous tenants and entire villages under their spiritual and temporal jurisdiction. They collected rents, administered justice in their own courts, and sometimes even raised armed retinues when needed to defend their lands. Hospitality, an act of charity and connection, providing hospitality to travelers, pilgrims, merchants, and even kings was a core monastic duty and act of charity, ensuring a constant, if controlled, flow of news and interaction with the outside world. Their guest houses often provided the best lodging available. Charity, the social safety net. Monasteries were major providers of charity, distributing food and alms to the poor and needy in their vicinity. During famines or plagues, they often opened their doors wider, acting as a crucial social safety net when no other organized welfare existed. Political influence. Advisors to kings, powerful abbots and abbesses, leading wealthy and influential religious houses, often wielded significant political influence. They advised kings and nobles, participated in royal councils, and sometimes even led diplomatic missions, their spiritual authority lending weight to their secular endeavors. Discipline, silence, and the quest for spiritual perfection, at the very heart of monastic life, was an unyielding commitment to spiritual discipline. Silence was often observed for much of the day, a deliberate practice designed to foster deep contemplation and internal prayer. Meals in the refectory were eaten in communal silence, while one monk read aloud from a religious text, feeding both body and soul. Personal possessions were largely forbidden, fostering a spirit of poverty and detachment from worldly goods. Obedience to the abbot or abbess was absolute and unquestioning. This rigorous, often austere, discipline was believed to purify the soul, strengthen faith, and bring the individual closer to God. The ethereal beauty of Gregorian chant, the rhythmic, comforting tolling of the bells, and the solemn communal prayers created a profound, spiritual atmosphere that permeated every single moment of their waking lives. However, monastic life was not without its profound challenges. Temptations of the flesh, disputes within the community, the lure of the outside world, or the sheer monotony of routine could severely test a monk's or nun's resolve and spiritual strength. Yet for centuries, this way of life endured, shaping the spiritual, intellectual, and economic landscape of the Middle Ages. The monastery was a world of profound paradoxes, isolated yet immensely influential, silent yet prolific, humble in its vows yet incredibly powerful. It was a testament to the enduring human quest for meaning, order, and connection to something larger than oneself. So as you drift off to sleep, perhaps you can hear the faint echo of a Gregorian chant from a distant chapel, the rustle of a scribe's quill on parchment, or the gentle ring of a bell calling to prayer. Imagine a life dedicated to a higher purpose, lived within ancient stone walls, a testament to the enduring power of faith, discipline, and the human quest for meaning and salvation. Good night.